Hello and welcome back once again to After the Credits. I almost said movie reviews again. It's been a while since I've done these. It's kind of hard to remember I changed the name of this because it's like built in for doing it how many years as movie reviews, and now it's After the Credits, and it's just hard to remember. But welcome back to After the Credits. So today's feature that I saw was Neighbors 2. I think, Neighbors 2? Bad Neighbors? Whatever it's called. The sequel to that Seth Rogen movie that came out a year ago or so that I reviewed. What did I think of this one? It's a way for Seth Rogen to cash in on a name, I guess. This film really did not need to exist. The overall premise of the whole thing was kind of pointless. Not really much else to say about it than that. So, premise of the movie is Seth Rogen and his wife, pregnant again. They decide to sell the house that they're in and buy another house. They're already paying for the other house, but when they sold this house, they did it through escrow, which means the people who are buying it have like 30 days to back out of it, at which point they'll be screwed because now they'll own two houses. So everything's going good. Then we cut over to the college, and there's this girl. I can't think of the actress's name. She's pledging a sorority, but she doesn't really like the way the sorority's going, which doesn't really make sense because it kind of seems like the sorority is what she wanted to begin with. So the sorority says we don't smoke pot here, so she's like kind of turned off by that. And she goes, well, what do you do at the parties if you don't smoke pot? And she's like, and the sorority leader's like, well, we don't have parties. It's like some U.S. law or something that fraternities can have parties, sororities can't. So she's like, well, what do you do when you want a party? They're like, well, we go to the fraternity parties. So they go to the fraternity party, and they kind of make it like date rape central, like the punch is spiked, and there's like arrows leading up the stairs to the bedroom. There's a giant cock at the top of the stairs. It's like this way to heaven or something like that. So, there's a real strong rape vibe here, so they kind of backed out of the party. And she meets two other girls there, and the three of them decide, why don't we form our own sorority and kind of go against the law, and we'll have our own parties, we'll do what we want, and we'll be like a fraternity, but for women, a sorority. So they're looking around the neighborhood, they find the house, of course, next door to Seth Rogen. The head frat guy that Seth Rogen fought with in the last one is kind of hanging out at the house because he's kind of like at a midlife crisis where everyone's kind of moving on and he's kind of still stuck in this cycle that he's been in. He's kind of at odds with Seth Rogen's character, which they bring up, but it's kind of odd because at the end of the first movie it seemed like they were getting along and they were friendly with each other. He does kind of explain why he's like that, but at the same time, that doesn't make sense either, because you figure he would have mentioned that at the end of the last movie. Not going to give it away if you want to see it. Go watch it. So he kind of teams up and mentors these girls about how to form a sorority, because they don't know anything about it. He's like, I led the fraternity for 4 years. I can help you guys create the sorority. And it's kind of payback to this guy next door. So, of course, Seth Rogen and his wife go there, like, look, we got 30 days of escrow. All we're asking is you guys keep it calm for the 30 days, and after that, you can do whatever. Of course, the girls, being teenagers, don't want to do that. They want to party. Which, then, the parties they throw, they kind of make it seem like when they left the other sorority that they wanted to throw, like, a guy-type party, but for themselves. But then the parties they throw are all, like, them just sitting around watching, like, The Fault in Our Stars, and not really doing any partying at all. So it's kind of like the opposite of what they wanted, which is like I was saying, if they didn't want parties, why didn't they just stay with the sorority? Because that's kind of what the original sorority kind of seemed like it did, was just kind of sit home and hang out as girls. So, it's kind of like, why did you want to leave there? You want to do the guy thing, but now you're not doing the guy thing. You're doing what you would have done to begin with. Which kind of leads me to think the writers just didn't know how to write women, because they're trying to do like empowering women and everything, but they don't empower them at all. In fact, as the movie progresses, the girls kind of get dumber and dumber and dumber, and like start doing stupid stuff. And it's not just so much the pranking like it was in the first one. It's just they do dumb stuff. So the guy from the fraternity is still kind of helping them along, and then he kind of sees that they're getting out of hand, and he's like, whoa, 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 you guys need to calm this down. You're getting out of hand. There's a smarter way to go about this. I've dealt with these guys before. And they're like, look, we just kind of voted and you're out. So he's like, screw you. He goes next door. I'm going to help. Hey, Seth Rogen, I'm going to help you get rid of these girls because they just turned on me. Okay, so now they're all teaming up trying to do whatever they got to do to get rid of the girls. It's almost non-eventful. It's like in the first one, there was a lot of stuff going on between the family and the fraternity. And this one is like they don't really do a whole lot. They go to like the county fair and steal their weed. And that's kind of it as far as like them going to war with each other. And so what it boils down to is the girls are about to lose the house and they're completely out of options. So like, well, let's throw a fraternity style party, the stuff that we didn't want to be involved in, which that's exactly what you want to be involved in. You just didn't want it to be so misogynistic. So now you're wanting to do that, even though, I mean, do you guys see what I'm saying here? It doesn't make sense. Their motives don't make sense. They want to party, but they don't want to party. So they have this party, and all the same fraternities and everything show up, and they're making the money and fighting with the neighbors, and eventually the other two girls are like, look, this isn't what we wanted when we started this. This is the type of party that we walked away from. And, they're kind of like breaking up their friendship. So, of course, Seth Rogen and his wife and everyone kind of feel bad about it. So they kind of give him a pep talk like, look, your sorority isn't this house that you live in. It's not this war with us. It's your guys' friendship. And you can't let that get ripped apart because of anything. So they're like, you're right. So they kind of woman up, I guess. And they go in and kick everyone out of the party, except for all the girls, from their sorority. And then they're having like a rave style party, but it's just them, which is kind of what they wanted to begin with. And it's like, well, why are you just now doing this when before you had every opportunity to do this, and all you did was sat around and watch movies? And like, why was Seth Rogen and his wife so upset about you guys sitting over there watching movies and having a movie party when that's actually fairly quiet? Even if the neighbors would have came over, then they're like, oh, they're just over there watching movies, whatever. The people buying the house, I should say. So they go back in and kick everyone out, and a bunch of other girls show up and they're like, hey, we're interested in joining your sorority because it's outside the box of what a normal sorority is. And they're like, yeah, everyone's welcome. So they end up having too many people for the house that they currently live in. So they come over to Seth Rogen and they're like, look, we got a deal for you. We have way too many people. You have this escrow issue, so why don't we just rent this house from you while you guys go to the other house, and you'll just kind of be our landlords. And then that way we'll have these two houses next to each other. It's big enough for all our sorority people, and, whatever. So they agree to that, even though the other people that were buying the house haven't fully backed out of escrow yet. They said they were going to pull out, and they gave them like 24 hours. And then that 24 hours never really came. It was like that same night, they're like, hey, why don't we just rent it from you? And they're like, yeah, fuck those other people, It made no sense. I mean, I guess in escrow you can back out of the sale yourself too, but it was just kind of odd that they ended it that way. So the girls end up renting the house. They go over to their new house. That's kind of the end of the movie. They're just like, yeah, whatever. No real resolution to anything other than the girls finally kind of grew up, I guess, because they didn't make a whole lot of sense. They were being real childish, I guess. I don't know. Like I said, it just seems like whoever wrote this doesn't understand girls or girl empowerment, and they're just kind of like guessing at what it's like to be in a sorority, and it's just really off. This movie didn't have to be made. It didn't have any of the whimsy of the first one. None of the prank wars like the first one. There was one point in Seth Rogen's office at his work Someone made a comment about a prank war, and they're like freaked out about the airbags, and like everyone was running out because they didn't want to get blasted through the roof by an airbag. So it had its little moments like that. It kind of relied way too heavily on that airbag joke because it comes into play like 2 more times in the movie. That wasn't the funniest thing of the first one. I mean, it was funny as hell in the first one. It wasn't the funniest thing. It wasn't what could carry an entire movie. And they kind of relied too heavily on it in this one. Yeah, just overall the movie didn't have the same magic as the first one. Didn't really need to exist. You know, it's like, why, other than to cash in on the name, like, hey, we had Neighbors, it was fairly successful, you know, for what it was. Why don't we make a second one? Okay, here's an idea. Why don't you just make a completely different movie and hope it does good? Anyway, yeah, that's my review of Neighbors 2. As far as a star rating, can't give it too low because I did laugh at a few points. Again, it was when they would tap back into that fraternity versus Seth Rogen and his wife mentality that the first one had, but this time it's in junction with Seth Rogen and the former fraternity guy when they're kind of trying to help each other out. Certain things keep coming up. This, like, you know, this is what would have happened back in their prank war. So that's the little funny moments. Anything with the sorority was just kind of pointless. Didn't make any sense. But like I said, I don't want to knock it down too far because I did laugh a couple of times. So I will say it was better than Darkness. Or The Darkness, I should say, because there's a movie from a long time ago called Darkness, which was about werewolves, I think. I think they actually owned it on VHS. Oh. But yeah, so it was better than Darkness, so what did I give Darkness? A 1.5, so I'll give this one a 2. Doesn't deserve any higher than that. Like I said, it was just a cash in. Didn't need to be made. If you're interested in seeing what happens in the story, maybe wait till it's on Redbox, so you don't have to pay $1 for it. Or download it online somewhere, I guess, maybe when it comes on Netflix. Which won't be too long, because I think that's going out of the theater too, because that's down to like 2 or 3 showings right now. Captain America Civil War still has like 10 showings a day, though, so that's good. Not sure what I'm going to get around to seeing next. There are a couple more movies I'm going to try and squeeze in. Like I said, I am very tight with money, so I got to plan them out carefully and squeeze them in when I can. So yeah, that's it for this episode. Again, as always, thank you for watching. Remember to like, comment, rate, subscribe, share the video. Links are in the description and up here in the corner if you're on YouTube. And until next time, we will see you after the credits.